Okay, good evening, Hatfield. Welcome to the June 11th, 2024 meeting of the Hatfield Select Board. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order, and as usual, begin by reading our public participation policy. The Hatfield Select Board welcomes everyone to its meetings and all other public meetings of the town of Hatfield. All regular and special meetings of the boards and committees of the town of Hatfield shall be open to the public and shall conform to the open meeting law. Executive sessions are closed to the public and will be held only as prescribed by the statutes of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It is important to recognize that the open meeting law affords the opportunity to listen to the proceedings, but not necessarily participate. During meetings of the Select Board, an attempt will be made to find a balance between hearing from members of the community and conducting the required business of the Hatfield Select Board. So for announcements, I don't really have anything formal, just congratulations to Smith Academy class of 2024. They graduated last weekend, and wishing all the other students in the schools a happy summer, because I know they probably only have a couple weeks left. Yeah.
Yeah, this Friday is Flag Day, the 14th, at the town hall. By the front door, there's a box if you want to retire any of your worn or torn flags, and the public is invited. Behind the school at the pavilion, they'll have a ceremony at 6 o'clock. It's a nice little ceremony. For those who want to see how you retire a flag, it'd be nice for you to show up, and that's all I got.
I appreciate that they do that. Greg, anything?
I have nothing.
Anything I'm missing, Marlene? I don't think so. When's the next concert?
It's the end of this month. Maybe the 20, it's either the 22nd, 21st or 28th.
I think it might be the 21st. Do you know?
I don't, but 21st makes sense. Because it's a Friday.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know it's.
Well, anyway, it is concert season here, so
Information
keep
is
an eye out.
posted on the town
Information
website.
is on the website, and they put the signs up around town and all of that. So I know that those
It
are
is, okay.
really great events. So just watch for that. Okay, so if there's no other announcements, is anyone here for public forum? No. All right, so we're going to go move right into the agenda. The first item is our consent agenda, which is our minutes from our May 28th meeting.
Make a motion that we approve the May 28th meeting minutes.
Second.
A motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Karen, thank you. Okay, posted business. We are joined tonight by the library trustees and Dodie from the library trustees and Eliza, our library director, to discuss the sick time policy for part-time employees. Did you want to come up to the microphone? Now, we had a discussion about this recently, right? This
It
was,
was introduced a few weeks ago, just the
Yeah,
the
it was
possibility.
introduced. The board asked that we take a look at how many part-time.
I thought
employees
no,
had
this was a while ago. You came in, it was something
Yeah.
about, it
to
was,
amend the sick time policy for part-time employees.
So in Massachusetts now, every part-time employee legally gets
Right.
sick time. So even if you only work 15 hours a week or 12 hours a week, you're entitled to sick time, but municipalities are exempt. And so we have two concerns. One is that we'd actually like to be able to give our part-time employees sick time. We have a lot of people who work 10 to 12 hours a week, and it would be nice to support them in being able to stay home if they're sick. And then also we're concerned that it makes us not competitive in the job market. If, you know, the Cumberland Farms is offering sick time and we're not offering sick time, it's, you know.
But we're exempt. That's what you said.
We're exempt. Yeah, so you're not required to do it. We're just asking that it be considered. And one of the information we didn't have last time was, obviously we would want this to apply not just to the library, but all departments. And we don't have the information of how this would affect other departments, but my understanding is that now that information is available.
Well, we provided a list of part-time employees, you know, from various departments. And just, you know, for informational purposes, the current sick time policy, you must work 20 hours or more to be entitled. to
which is
sick
in
time
accordance with
prorated.
the laws governing municipalities and
Yes.
And actually, the list we have does not include election workers,
That is correct.
part-time fire department,
Mhm.
and if we have any part-time police officers.
Right.
So that number there, or 25, should be like almost 50.
These are permanent part-time people that
Right.
we're proposing.
And
Right, it wouldn't apply to anyone, I think, seasonal or temporary. That was my understanding from what you said before.
But the fire, police, and election workers are, well, the election
They're
workers, I guess
hired.
you could, they're not
Hired.
seasonal, they're,
Yeah.
they're not
Yeah.
seasonal, yeah.
so there are some implications of doing this. You know, it affects a lot of departments.
Yeah.
And so then what would happen to your budget in terms of, would you call someone else in?
Well, I calculated for our budget, because based on the Massachusetts state standard is it's 1 hour of sick time for every 30 hours worked. And so for the library, if every person used every hour of their sick time that they accumulated and we covered all of those hours with additional staffing, then the maximum that it could be is $1,200 a year. So it's not really a lot of money. But I think that in most common cases, we would just operate at shorter staff, and so it actually wouldn't cost us any money.
I mean,
Or
usually-
or a minimal amounts, depending on the
I
circumstance.
mean, usually when people take a part-time job less than 20 hours, it's basically to make either some extra money or do something to fill in a void. And the town did at one time, if I recall, when I was talking to Marlene on this, they did offer benefits to almost everybody. And then it got very expensive. And we do have a very small payroll staff to actually track all this would be another issue. So I'm sort of having a hard time saying that if we start changing policies for people less than 20 hours, we may be opening up a can of worms, but I'm not positive that's true. I mean, I do commend you for trying to support your staff. I think it's great, but maybe somehow figure out a way to give them a little bit more money than a time off for part-time. I'm not sure if that's another option, but I'm just speaking how I feel at this time after I spent some time reviewing it. But that's just me. I don't know how my colleagues feel about this, so I'll let them jump in with their viewpoints.
I guess I am concerned about us changing how, because we are in line with what municipalities are allowed to do or expected to do in this realm. But then also, with how it really affects the entire budget and all of our part-time employees. Now, fire would be different though, because they're per diem,
Right.
so they're not.
Many of them, yeah, would already have a
But you
full-time
have,
job.
do you have part-timers?
Nobody working at the moment.
At the
but-
moment.
But still, they would also be per diem for the most.
They would be per diem too, so.
And just another thing, just to put this in perspective, because, again, we were talking about offering people benefits. This is offering 1 hour of sick time for every 30 hours worked. So if you have someone who's working 12 hours a week, it's still going to take them 4 to 5 months to earn a single day's worth of sick hours. So it's not like people are going to be extravagantly taking time off.
But when you open up that door, you're opening
Yeah,
up
right,
other things
it-
that
yeah.
going to occur.
right, we always have to think big picture and all of the implications of making a decision like this.
The
Um,
logistics of adding everybody's time up, not just the library, but all the other departments that would have to keep track of that. I'm not sure how that would work out. How many hours a week do the part-timers working at the library?
Sorry, can you clarify how many hours does each individual person work?
How much does each individual work? a
Well,
part-time
it
employee?
varies. We have people who work only on Saturdays, and so they work only 4 hours. And then we have, people who work up to over 20 hours and so get the sick time.
Has this been run by town council at all? I
No.
mean, because I would think that town council might want to weigh in on us
Yeah, no,
instituting a policy that's sort of outside of
I have not had a discussion.
normal accepted municipal policies, right? And I do see that there are other communities doing various different things.
Yeah, a lot of communities are addressing this right now. Again,
For the larger ones that are on the list, are addressing it, but the smaller ones on the list, I
Yeah,
don't think they are.
I
There are
noticed
some
that too.
smaller communities, Leverett just made the change to do I think they're doing the 1 hour, sick time for 30 hours of work.
I'm retired, but I also work part-time. And so because I work for a nonprofit, a private nonprofit organization, I fall under this 1 hour for every 30. And it's fortunately, I'm a very healthy person and I'm rarely sick, but every once in a while, something happens. I can only get a doctor's appointment on a day that I'm scheduled to work. Or when I had my cataract surgery, it was I could only schedule on the days that I worked. So having that backup is just a great relief. And it just shows that you really appreciate the people that work for you.
And I totally get it. I mean, I'm not disputing the reasons for it and how nice it would be to be able to give this to our employees. But I don't think it's a decision. I'm not prepared to make this decision tonight. I would certainly want to know what town council thinks about it. But, also to really think about this through how this will affect some other departments and their budgets as well. And then even moving forward with things. I mean, that's what we have to do.
It does seem like making sure all the departments are on board is important.
Yeah, it has to be everybody or nobody, right? So, were you prepared to make a decision
not-
tonight?
No, I'm not
you know.
prepared. I think it has to be looked into what the effects are going to be. And once we open up that door,
Right, I did my research for me, and for us, the financial impact on the library is very minimal. But again, we need to find out what it would be for other departments.
Yeah, other departments might have to replace that person that was out, so they might not be able to afford that. The budget's pretty tight.
Yeah, that's my concern. But I mean, I'm certainly willing to. I think the starting point is to see what town council recommends. And it is, to your point, Ed, you're right, that some of the larger communities are able to do this, but most of the communities,
they got the 20-hour policy.
they've got the
like we
20
do,
hours, yeah.
That if you're doing 20 hours, you're entitled to some type of benefits. But if you're less than 20, then you're not.
Right. So, I mean, I guess we'll look into it further and,
Great.
I appreciate you advocating on behalf of your employees who are our employees too.
We appreciate your support.
Yeah, I just, I just want to make sure we're making the right decision and that there aren't any sort of unintended consequences and, burdens on budgets because of this. So. What do you do at the transfer station if someone's sick?
We don't backfill it.
You don't backfill it.
We just short staff.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious to know what some of the other departments do. Okay.
Yeah,
Like the COA vans, I mean, they must have to call someone else in, the drivers, because
They do.
they have the van scheduled to go places and, people need to get to their appointments and that sort of thing. So
that's true.
it just bears a little more investigating.
That's great. Well, thank you so much
Yeah.
for
Thank you.
hearing us out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Liza,
Dodie, nice
thanks,
to see you. Okay, topic 2 is the School Street Market, the alcohol license compliance. Is anyone coming in for this or were they notified, Marlene?
They were
Yeah.
notified.
Okay.
We can take this minute then just to educate the public. We do alcohol compliance checks, that's what we call them, where we send in minors on purpose into the establishments in town to try to buy alcohol. We've been doing this for years. Most communities do. This year, 2 have been done. Normally we do, 1, 2, or what have you. This year, 2 have been done so far. This was on the topic a little while ago, if people remember, because of a violation, a second violation, but the violation was the second one within 5 years, where a clerk didn't even look at an ID. So it's more, the reason I asked for that establishment to be brought in was simply, you're the licensing board, and to have you guys, maybe explain to that establishment that they have a very valuable piece of paper issued by this town, and we don't tolerate selling alcohol to minors, and there are no excuses for it. Because I simply have no tolerance for it. They're not the only establishment in town who has done this, and they're not the only establishment in town who is getting warnings about this. So again, it's just education. That's where we start. We start with warnings and education, and then after that, it's really up to you guys. And if it gets to a point where it needs to go to the state, then the Alcohol Beverage Control Commission can take action as well. So
What time was the owner asked to be here? I'm sort of disappointed he's not
I
here.
know he was notified.
Well, and weren't we going to revisit the Main Street Market one? That's not on the agenda, right? Was it Main Street that came in last time, or was it School
No,
Street?
it was.
It was School Street.
School
Okay, I'm
Street.
remembering
School
wrong.
Street.
School
Yeah.
Street, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I thought
Yeah.
they were coming back.
yeah, I mean, the whole point is we want to discourage kids from thinking Hatfield's the place to come to if you need to, buy alcohol. That's all.
Oh, okay. The owner was notified with a meeting invite in the agenda.
Okay.
Okay.
So, I mean, obviously, we take this seriously too,
Yeah.
or I'm speaking for myself. I'm quite sure I'm speaking for my colleagues that, we don't want, any sales to underage individuals is not acceptable. At the last meeting, we just didn't have all the information. And so typically, what do we have as options for moving
I
forward?
think a
So,
letter from the licensing board to the establishment, stating, hey, you can't go forward selling, even if it's an accident, you have to make some type of preparations or some type of whatever it takes to make sure that, sometimes it happens, right? But you have to take steps to be diligent, whether it's putting up more signage, making sure your clerks are properly trained, this, that, or the other thing. And then that's the end of it. We don't want to hurt this. We don't want to hurt any business. But we also want to protect our citizens. So, at this stage, I don't think we need to do anything more than a letter from the licensing authority stating that, don't do it again.
I did notice online on various towns in Massachusetts, they have their procedure on violations sort of spelled out.
Mhm.
Whereas we really don't have a policy where it's like case by case, right?
So what I do is I take my cues from other communities, right? And of course, the Alcohol Beverage Control Commission, who does the same thing. If they get a violation and it's a first violation for the most part, they tend to, it depends if it's egregious or something, but typically it would wind up being a warning, to the establishment. So, and our establishments can all go, they can buy readers that stick any license into, and it'll tell you if the person's able to buy alcohol. And you can even go as far as there's programs that detect fake IDs. I mean, there's a million things that they can be doing to not sell to minors. So that's why there's really no excuse for it.
right.
And it is up to them. They have a privilege by being issued a liquor license in any community.
Mhm.
It's up to them to keep that privilege.
Sort of like a driver's license.
Very much
It's a
so.
privilege.
Well, and you like, when you go to Big Y, they card every time.
Which is what
Every person,
establishment should do.
yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, I'm over 21, but
But, yeah.
they
No.
still, yeah, barely.
So are you sort of saying, are you sort of recommending that we ask him what steps he's taken at this point, or?
I recommend that you send him a letter so that it's on record, so we have violations on record. The licensing authority is placed on record that, look, you guys have, sold to a minor in the past and recently, and however you want to word it, we don't want to hear about it again.
Yeah, I mean, I would, sorry.
If it happens again, then you'll be facing some type of suspension of your
That's-
license.
That's entirely up
I
to
mean,
you.
that's how the letter should be worded then.
Right.
Absolutely.
That any further violation would
Result in suspension
would
of
Could
result-
license.
in,
yeah, could result in some form of suspension or,
Did the business owner get a letter about this one, this
Mhm.
violation? Because they got one up the last one.
So what I did was I sent everything to the board,
Mhm.
sent everything to, and I don't know if that letter went out with the invite or what happened after that, so.
Okay.
I did not personally give this gentleman a letter, but I also watched the last meeting and he was
he was
saying
here,
he
Yeah.
knew nothing or did know
Right.
this or did, that's, you
Right.
can read for yourself, Officer Ravish's report.
He's
exactly
gotten
what happened.
copies of these things that we have?
We have made copies for him, to my
Mhm.
knowledge. If I don't know if he has them or not.
Okay, that sort of makes sense, what you're saying, is we send a letter and state if another violation occurs,
Yeah.
he will be subject to some type of suspension of his
Yeah,
license.
and that's all. Again, we don't want to hurt a business, but we also don't want to hurt our community
Right.
either, so.
No, but he was saying he didn't know what time it happened and that kind of stuff. So I just want to make sure that
Yeah,
we
remember
can, we can give it to him and say, well, this is when it happened.
There's copies. Marlene has copies.
Copies here, but
to give to
he-
him.
I'm pretty certain
Send him with any copies, if that's what you're asking.
I believe when he was notified originally, when the board was going to have a meeting to discuss this, it included a copy of the
Okay.
letter.
And plus, after this happened, whoever the officer was up there spoke to the clerk.
Clerk.
So
Mhm.
that should be able to figure out when that happened.
Yeah. Well, he even said
'Cause
that
he said-
he had spoke to the
Yeah,
clerk
and the
about
clerk,
that.
the clerk said
about that.
he said the clerk called him right away after that.
Right.
So he was
we
aware.
can
of
narrow
it.
it down to like 10 minutes. Yeah.
Well, we know exactly what time it took place.
But I'm saying he could narrow it down. He could narrow it down to like 10 minutes if he didn't have a letter.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, they sold to a minor.
Right.
Period.
Right.
It's, everything else is, they need to be warned to stop selling to minors and card everybody.
I totally agree.
so typically should it be the licensing authority that notifies the establishment or the police department?
The licensing.
The licensing
Okay, and we did
It
do
is the
that.
licensing
I have no
authority.
jurisdiction over their
Okay.
license.
We did do that, okay. We must have notified him because he came in last time.
Right.
Okay.
So I notified the licensing authority then does what they do.
Well, if you draft a letter, I'll
Yeah, well,
sign that.
Yeah, I'd like to know, an acknowledgement from him as well.
Mm.
That he's going to do something.
Yeah, that
Not-
would,
Not just us sending a letter.
well, the chief is recommending that he come up with a plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
he
that's,
should prepare to submit that plan to the select board.
maybe give him a deadline to submit it.
Mhm.
Okay,
They
okay.
can come back here and he can explain the plan to us.
Okay,
there is another establishment in town that is going to wind up in front of the ABCC as well. So,
that just happened recently.
And that one's skipping our board and going straight to
correct. We
ABCC.
cannot
Because
act
they
on the
did-
ABCC's information.
Right.
That's the Alcoholic Beverage Control
Control
Commission,
Commission,
just
yeah.
so people at
And it
home
was
know.
their.
That's the
compliance check.
statewide governing body
Body, yeah.
that oversees liquor license holders.
Yeah.
Okay,
you.
well,
It happens. It's not the end of the world, but.
but
We'll nip it in the
make sure
bud.
they know we
Mhm,
take it
yeah.
serious. We do take it seriously. Okay,
Thank you.
Chief, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Topic 3 is our FY 2023 financial audit report.
I'm notifying Tony now.
So that is for the year of July
Oh, yes,
1,
okay, there he is.
2022 through June 30th of 2023.
Perfect timing, Tony.
Hi, Tony. You're on
Hello,
mute.
how are you?
We're good. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
So we'll go, did you want us to just turn this over to you and we'll give you the floor for a little bit to?
So just a note, the accountant is joining us.
Yes. Oh, hi, Elizabeth. Did you, Okay, so that's the accountant,
And Jenny, as
And Jenny
assistant
is here.
assessor, is here.
yes,
The assistant treasurer couldn't be here tonight.
okay.
Is it my turn to speak? I just happened to turn on because Marlene said it would be later.
Just going to
before
text
6:30,
him.
so-
I was just about to text and say, we're ready. Okay.
Who are you texting?
I was
Okay,
going to
well,
text
that-
Tony. We
Oh,
are ready.
Yeah, we are ready. The floor is yours.
Super, that was great
You
timing.
have great timing, great timing.
Okay, so, well, thank you for having me tonight. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Tony Roselli, and I am the partner of the audit company, Roselli Clark and Associates, that does the audit of the town of Hatfield. And we have completed the audit for fiscal 2023, and tonight we'll go over some of the highlights. If you have any questions, please feel free to jump in. The report that I will be, does everyone have the reports in front of them? The one I'll be looking at is the, let's see, would be called it's a governance report. So it starts with the members of the honorable members of the Board of Select Board.
Yes.
It's about a 3 or 4 page report.
Yep, we have
So everyone
that.
has that. That's the one I'm going to focus on because
Okay.
it kind of summarizes things.
Okay,
So this is it's a new report, basically. In the past, we used to do a management letter. Now the AICPA requires to put it in a different format, but it really gives the same information. It does ask us to communicate if there's any disagreements with management, if there's any limitations in what we were able to do, and if there's any gap departures. So none of that existed, but a couple of the things we do need to talk about. And I'll preface this because this is the first time we've had this in a while. I think you've all read the report, so you probably know what I'm about to talk about. But there was a lot of turnover in the town itself in the financial positions. So although you had Markham the whole year, it started out with Lori. Then Lori was here for the first couple of months. Then I think it was Richard came next, Horwath. And then finally, I don't know if there was someone between Richard and Elizabeth, but then Elizabeth ended the year. So by the time we were doing the audit and asking Elizabeth, what's this and what's that, Elizabeth, who was not familiar with what the other accountants had done, wasn't able to explain some things because there was a lot of journal entries that didn't have descriptions on them that were kind of very difficult to decipher what they were for, and it led to some challenges. Likewise, in the treasurer's office, there was, you had a treasurer at the beginning of the year that I believe might have had some medical challenges, and then you brought in an interim. So we were dealing with an interim treasurer who also was not familiar with the entire process. So we did find, and we can go through down the bottom of the first page, there were a number of things that popped up in this audit that are unique for Hatfield in the last 5 years, because you had really done a great job of turning the corner, and a lot of these things did not exist. But for example, a debt payment went through the treasurer's books, but it never got reported to the town accountant. So your debt was off and your cash was off because of that. That was $37,000. There was a number of one-sided journal entries. So when you make a journal entry in accounting, and for those who are not familiar, you use a debit and a credit. So it has to offset. It's called balancing. And when we went through this, there was just a lot of one-sided entries, either a debit with no matching credit or a credit with no matching debit. And with Elizabeth's help, we went through that all. We were able to finally kind of figure a lot of it out, but there was so much of that going on without explanation. There were accounting transfers made between capital projects without any sort of a reason why it went from one account to the other. That was a big number. That was $800,000. Moving on to the next page, the water and sewer fund. So when you put that in on your tax recap, you're combining it. but on the balance sheet, it's apart. So there's a lot of commingling going on. So I had suggested to the town, either call it a water and sewer fund, which the DOR will allow, or just keep it separate so you don't have the commingling. You have either one or the other. The health insurance was prepaid. That was $51,000. And the DOR does not like prepayment, so they reduced your free cash by the $51,000. In withholding balances, we had found that was one of the things that had been left over from the old days that was still kind of continuing into the current year. So we made a bunch of audit adjustments just to get everything to work. Sent everything off to whoever needed it, the Department of Revenue and and whatnot. Sent them to the town, your bond people. The second thing we had discussed here also is your cash reconciliation process. So it did not look like the cash had been balanced between the treasurer and the treasurer's books, and then the treasurer's books and the town accountant. It kind of looked like it was done inconsistently throughout the course of the year. So that ended up being out of balance at the end of the year. I think by the time we were done with this entire challenging process, got the variance down to about $13,000, which there's always been a small variance with the town. So so I talked fast there. Does anyone have any questions on just those sorts of record-keeping challenges that existed this year?
Well, no, I mean, it sounds like for the most part, you've been able to make significant progress or correct them.
Yes. Yes, most of what was out of balance. I mean, normally we're doing the audit in October, November, and usually we're having this conversation in January. This dragged and dragged and dragged just because of all the challenges we had, and we weren't really in doing the meat of the audit until March. So there was a period of time, so it took a while, but we did get to that final point where it seemed like we made the adjustments, and Elizabeth agreed with the adjustments that we had recommended she make to get everything as of June 30 of 23, pretty close to where it should be. Would you agree with that, Elizabeth? Yeah. So yeah. So I think together we got there. I'm not sure if the treasurer is here or not, but I'm not sure where. Elizabeth, I'm assuming you've continued where we left off at June 30 of 23 into 24. So I'm assuming that, now it's been pretty consistent. You've been around for a while. We haven't had switching chairs. Not sure where the treasurer's office stands right now, because we weren't looking at after year, after 23 type things. So that would be my question: is what's happened with the treasurer's office? Are the bank reconciliations being done? Are they being reconciled to your records? That would be something I'll throw up to you.
If it's okay, if I can respond to some of this.
Please.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for having me here tonight. Tony, nice to see you again. I haven't seen you since March.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, it was very challenging for me as well. So to address some of the stuff, we put things in place so that it's not going to happen again. We've talked with the treasurer's office. Debt payments won't get paid until they're presented on a warrant. I don't do one-sided journal entries. It's not how I operate, so that won't happen again, and I will document every entry I make. Excuse me. Water and sewer fund, we are going to combine it as one, so it'll be under one fund. The health insurance, again, will not be doing any prepays. We've addressed that as well. We're going to be doing a July 1 warrant for 2025 to accommodate anything that has to get paid the 1st of July, which is health insurance and retirement assessment, any leases, anything like that. Withholding balances, we're working on those diligently to get those cleaned up. We already cleaned a few up. We found some things that didn't get posted to the right place. We've made those adjustments. Cash rec. So we'll talk about that. Marlene started a monthly meeting with the finance group to discuss this. We are working forward with treasurer's office, and we're gonna put together a team of us to get this righted for this year. We don't have the year completed, but we will have it completed. And we will get, and Tony, with your permission, I'll talk to you when we get there. We're gonna try to come back with the same variance month after month after month, and once we do, we'll ask to make an adjustment, as long as the bank balances are higher than the GL balance. Because you don't want.
Yeah, that's a reasonable plan. And it does sound like you've got a lot of that under control. Like I said, the only one that I wasn't familiar with was what was going on in the treasurer's office. I didn't know if they were caught up or not. I knew you were getting things under control. And a lot of this stuff is even though it looks like a lot, it's easy to fix, because it's, hey, don't make the debt payment. Don't, until you have a warrant and it's authorized. Don't make the transfer unless it's authorized. It's easy things to fix. So it's not like you're trying to do a 12-month project. So it doesn't surprise me that you've addressed a lot of this. And I'm hoping that when we come in to do 24, that we're back to where we were, the year before or a couple of years ago, where we were with a very clean audit and on the path. These things do happen when you have turnover. It's unfortunate. It's part of the business. And when you do have the turnover, you do get these inconsistencies in the record keeping. So like I said, nothing on here is overly difficult to fix. So I do expect it to be in better shape and stay on top of the cash recs monthly. And I think I think you'll be in a good place. Were there any other questions on?
Yeah, so I have a couple of things, but Marlene asked to speak for a moment.
I'd just like to speak to the treasurer's side. So the assistant treasurer is not here this evening. However, I have had communication with the treasurer on a daily basis, pretty much. But anyway, they are reconciling to their bank statements, and I know that they're working out with the accountant, I guess, an updated cash book. So I just want to just let you know that the interim treasurer, he finished on May 7th, and the assistant treasurer, Tammy Wendelowski, is currently working with the accountant, Elizabeth.
So the couple of things I just want to say, just so people at home understand, obviously that we do these audits every year. And I mentioned it a little bit before we really got into this, but this audit is for June 1st, 2022 through June 30th, July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023.
Correct.
So it's completely, we just finished up FY24 and this is for FY23. So just so people can put that time frame into context at home, people listening. And then can you explain to me the health insurance? We prepaid it and it went against our free cash. So can you explain what that means and then what the ramifications are for free cash next year?
Yeah, it's only a timing item. So what happens is your first premium is due on the first of the month. So it's tricky to walk that tightrope to make it, and the insurance companies do give you a couple of days. So in an effort to not be late, the town accidentally had it on the last warrant of the year. So it ends up being a prepaid instead of in the proper year. So what happened was at the end of 23, you paid some of 24 by accident.
Okay.
The DOR says you can't do that. You have to pay it in the same year. So they go in, they calculate your free cash and then take the 51,000 away. But at the end of 24, they give that back to you.
Okay.
As long as everything worked out in 24.
That's what I was really asking. Okay.
That's
Okay.
the simple way to explain it. You
Okay.
don't lose it. You lose the use of it during fiscal 24 for budgets and whatnot, but you'll
Okay.
get it back hopefully for your town meeting in the fall, and maybe for something for your recap.
We're not having one in the fall, but yeah. Okay. Okay. That was my only question. Ed?
I'm good.
Ed's good. Greg?
Good. Finance. Committee.
Finance, do you have any questions for Mr. Roselli or Elizabeth Brascia? Brascia?
Gracia, that's fine.
Brascia.
Oh, Brascia.
So I'm sorry I was late, but I was just wondering, there were transfers between capital projects that were mentioned, was that figured out?
The question from one of our finance committee members was
800,000.
about the accounting transfers between the two capital projects. That was all figured out. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's figured out at this point. Yes, sometimes when you do like a borrowing or you're starting a project, you can use it for different things. And there was 800,000 moved from one account to the other with no explanation. Once we got our arms around it, we determined that it was proper. But when you make a transfer like that, it should be supported. There should be documentation behind why you're doing it. So once we dug down and with the help of Elizabeth, and it took a while, we figured out that it was okay where it went. So whoever did it did not do it inappropriately. They just did it without documentation. Whoever made that transfer, I don't know who did it in the scheme of things.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Daryl. Anything else?
Yeah, there was some comments on enterprise funds and the fact that they have to be handled separately, but I thought we had combined.
They are combined.
So do we still have to handle them separately? Or?
They were combined, but on the general ledger, they were separate.
And so now they're all going to be combined, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
That's where I thought we had gone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, but in your tax rate setting process, they had been combined, but for whatever reason, they hadn't, on your general ledger, they hadn't been combined yet. So they were apart. So it was confusing things, as to how votes were being made and whatnot. So that.
To be clear, it's gonna be like that for 24. We're gonna make the change for 25.
Mm-hmm.
25.
We're gonna put them all under one fund.
Okay.
And I have a couple of comments to make too that I had that I'd highlighted in the letter, not findings, but more informational items. On ARPA, I want you to make sure that you're fully obligated before the end of this year so that there's no clawback of those funds. So anything you have left on ARPA, make sure that that's fully obligated either through a purchase order or some sort of a contract, some sort of commitment. It can't just be in a plan. Otherwise, the federal
Tony,
government.
in this case, we're actually ahead of you. We're taking this up later tonight. The final
Super.
or close to final distribution of those funds.
And secondly, I wanted to comment on the great job you guys did investing some of your excess cash, because you did generate some additional interest income that wasn't planned. So with the interest rates going up, it was nice for whoever recognized that to say, hey, I'm earning 1% over here. Why don't I put it over here and earn 3, 4, 5%? So that did yield a few extra dollars at the end of the year. So whoever did that was a nice job. And, to keep that up, because while the rates are high, let's earn some money on it.
Hi.
And those were my last two comments.
Great. Well, we appreciate it. Everybody good here?
Yes.
Everybody's good. Thank you. It wasn't a perfect report, but everything was fixable. There was nothing, really alarming. And that's why we do it, right? To find those things.
That's
So.
right. That's right.
Excellent.
So if I'm free to leave, thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of the meeting, and we'll talk to everyone soon.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Tony. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
You too.
So is John coming?
No, it's just the
Just the three of you.
And I was just going to ask if I could, with Marlene, there's a question about a transfer that needs to be made.
Yeah, that was for,
Do you have the paperwork for that so that we can vote on
I
that?
sent it to you. I can get it, yes.
So I'm wondering, I know you're here for the ARPA discussion, correct?
No, we were here for the audit.
For the audit. Do you,
Yeah.
Well,
do
can
we,
listen to the ARPA.
okay,
that's
it's a
fine.
little bit later, but if you want, that's fine. Do you need to
Yeah,
go
they
get
were
their
invited
transfer?
for the audit.
For the
I
audit,
can-
okay.
we need to sign.
Yeah, we need to
Okay.
sign that.
So maybe we'll
transfer.
take a quick break while Marlene runs and gets that. Is that okay? Don, you okay with that? We're ready? We're back? Okay, so we're back after just a very short break. And we're going to dive right back into the agenda here. We're going to get to topic 4, which is a number of appointments and resignations. So first we have here information about Jill Turati being interested in a spot on the celebration committee.
That's to
I
fill
have
a
known Jill
vacancy.
for years, and I think she would be a great addition.
Make a motion to appoint Jill Turati on the celebration committee.
A second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we have a resignation from Kyle Scott from the Hatfield Housing Authority. Are we in a little problem then with that board? We don't have how big is that board now?
So they don't have there's a state vacancy,
Yeah.
which John Wilkes held. And so they have 3 other members right now, I believe.
I can think of 2.
Um,
So it's a 5-member board with 3
Chris-
members currently. Chris Smith,
Chris Smith,
Alex Malinowski,
and isn't somebody from the Housing
somebody from
Authority?
over there, I
There,
think.
yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember the name. So Okay, so first we should accept this resignation, which is too bad.
I'll make a motion, we accept Kyle Scott's resignation from the Hatfield Housing Authority Board.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We should thank Scott for doing that, but also, certainly anybody listening to this meeting who might be interested in serving on the Hatfield Housing Authority, please reach out to Marlene at the town hall.
Yes.
It's pretty important we get that committee filled up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, and then we have appointing Kathy Gao as an election worker.
Making a motion to appoint Kathy Gow as election worker.
A second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then we have in here a recommendation that we appoint the Assistant Treasurer Collector Tammy Wendelowski to fill the position of Treasurer Collector. That would be pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Section 1B.
That is a recommendation to appoint her higher. We interviewed
Mhm.
several applicants for the position.
Well, and she came in under tough circumstances, has done
Mhm.
very well, is, I think, going to be a great choice for the town. So we're grateful for that. So we just need to actually do the appointment tonight.
Do.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Tammy Wendelowski to the position of Treasurer Collector.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so then we have the Assistant Town Planner.
Yes, recommendation to hire the Assistant Town Planner or hire Isabella Yeager to the Assistant Town Planner position. Again, that was a position that was became vacant upon the resignation of Janelle Franklin,
Mhm.
and two candidates were interviewed for the position. Only 2 people applied. Isabel Yeager will be graduating from the Conway School on June 23rd, and she comes with quite a bit of valuable experience to the town. She has not served as an assistant town planner previously, but having interviewed her, I feel very confident. And Stephanie
Yeah, I was going to
Commissioner
ask if
Planning
Stephanie weighed
Board
in on this.
also approves
Okay.
and recommends Isabella for the position.
Okay.
And reference checks were very, very nice, very good.
Excellent.
I'll make a motion to appoint Isabella Yeager as Assistant Town Planner.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I got really behind on signatures here, Marlene. I was not paying attention. Okay, so annual appointments.
So goes the term annual.
A lot of them.
The town clerk has submitted a list of reappointments for 2024. And she is requesting that the board vote to appoint all these individuals as listed or submitted on the list. We can go through each one if you'd like.
Sorry, I'm trying to catch up here. I mean, it's a lot of appointments to read through.
It is.
I mean, I know in years past, we haven't done that. We've just accepted the list as it was
You have.
presented. So
And
this
the
is people that are
motion.
already on boards and committees in town who are willing to have a further appointment for another term, which we're very grateful for. But there is a lot of them, so.
And the motion
we need to-
prepared indicates to approve the list presented, and this will become a record of the meeting minutes.
Right.
Is there a motion already made on the
Not
appointment?
yet.
So I'll make a motion to appoint those as indicated on the list in our packet.
And thank them for their continued service to Hatfield.
Did you
We
say
appreciate it.
reappoint, Ed? Did you say reappoint to
Yeah,
reappoint?
well,
Okay.
yes, to reappoint.
There's a motion right here.
Oh, gotta make it official.
Make it official.
Okay, I move that we appoint all appointees with
Reappoint.
terms expiring June 30th, 2024, as presented on the annual appointment list supplied by the town clerk.
Okay, we're going to call that reappoint. Okay, in your motion?
I thought I said that, no?
No, but that's all right. Okay, I'll second that. Motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No.
Thank you, and thank you to Elena for putting out that together. Okay, so then we have our next item is actually DPW report. Come on up.
So we're just here to tell everybody that we have filled all our positions that were open. So we're going to introduce Max Bartlett, who returned to work for us. Paul Chapin is not here tonight. He had a family emergency, called us and told us he couldn't make it, but he's one of the new employees. And Dwayne Meehan has come to our gracious department.
Welcome, Dwayne.
Thanks.
No stranger to Hatfield, though.
No.
Been on the fire department.
Yeah, 10 years.
Yeah.
Right, 10 years. Yeah.
Great. Well, we're really glad you're here.
That's good to be back.
And I know you come with great experience. So that's great.
Thank you for joining the team.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Going well so far.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Excellent.
Ride's a little bit more to get used to. I'm used to a
Yeah.
1.1 mile ride.
Yeah. Okay. So for, do we have to vote this,
Yes,
Dwayne?
the personnel
The
form.
personnel, we need to vote this.
Okay. Make a motion to appoint
There's Dwayne, me, and
Dwayne Meehan
right here.
to this position, which is Public Works Highway Equipment Operator Laborer.
A second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Easy enough. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming in, Dwayne.
See you in the morning.
Thank you.
Yes, good evening. So do you plan to have the others come at another time? I mean, I know
Yeah,
we
you know,
all know Max
Max
and,
has been here before.
yeah,
I
Max
guess-
has
I
been
guess
here
you'll have Paul come in.
but it still would be nice to have Max come in if you could.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, I'll take those. Thank you. Okay, so then next we have a request to carry over vacation time here from Garrett. So we have a few of these tonight, correct, Marlene?
Yes.
So my general feeling is we were very clear last year that we were not going to entertain vacation carryovers anymore. This had gone, we were sort of still dealing with the residuals of that whole COVID era when we let people carry it over because no one could go anywhere. So I'm in general not inclined to do this. But I do think that we have to look at each one individually and each one still warrants some discussion.
Mhm.
And in the case of Garrett, I think we all know that Garrett had really unusual circumstances this year that did not allow him to take his time. So I would consider Garrett's. But I do think, my general feeling is we need to discuss each one
On
individually.
an individual basis.
And,
yeah.
and we will continue to encourage our employees not to be in this situation.
Mhm.
But
I tend to agree with you. I think each case should be individual. We've gone through this each year with carryover, but in this individual's situation, it's sort of unique. So in that case, I can accept carrying this one over.
yeah, I mean, I would, ideally, anyone who asks for time, I would like a plan of when they're going to use it. not just a general carryover. So this doesn't really have a plan
Right.
for Garrett. I am in favor of allowing Garrett to do this because he clearly was not able to take his vacation time this year for very extreme reasons. But I would like some type of, like, maybe he uses it by the end of, the extra time by the end of December or something like that. Especially because then you get into winter and then it's harder for him to take time and then it's backed up again and we're dealing with this again next year. So that's my feeling, that
That's
maybe
fair.
allow it to go through December 31st.
I think that's fair.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay. So I will make a motion that we grant Garrett's request with the stipulation that the extra time carried over be used by December 31st, and with the understanding that we do not plan to entertain any requests next year unless there's very extenuating circumstances.
Second.
A motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Phil. Sewer system management planning project loan application. This looks like,
They actually, I put that on there, but I put it under DPW because I'm always prepared to speak to anything that
Okay.
is under DPW, regardless if Phil is here. So thank you, Phil, for being here. So this is an SRF, State Revolving Fund Loan Application. As you know, there were 3 asset management plans
Yes.
in the town meeting warrant.
Yep.
This is for the sewer asset management plan.
okay.
It's a very lengthy application.
No, this
We
looks
don't need
like,
to go through the whole application.
it looks like it was a lot of fun to
Right.
put together.
But
yeah.
I would like it if the pages were numbered, but well, they're not. But anyway, with just a couple of pages in, I just want to note this because Ed brought it to my attention. Section A, it says applicant information and certification form. Population says 4,700. So we're nowhere near 4,700. So we need to update that number. So I will notify the engineer. Okay.
Good catch, Ed.
So then moving through this, you should have in your, in that packet, their pages are flagged.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's, the first flag is for
So-
Phil.
Right. He will sign that. The next one should be the authority to file.
Okay.
So you're not signing anything here, but simply just so the board understands what you are authorizing tonight is you're authorizing the Board of Selectmen as the applicant to file or submit this application. And just, it's been filled in, select board,
Right.
and what the work activity will consist of.
Okay.
And then you're also authorizing the town administrator, unless the board prefers that it's the chair or the treasurer, to act on behalf of the town with regards to applications and executing agreements. And of course, anything that needs to come before this board,
Right.
we'll be sure that.
No, I think it would be better to have you do it and then just come before us with anything you need.
Okay. The next document.
Is my signature?
Certifying, yes. So you will sign at the bottom.
Do we need to
above
vote it or
the
can I just
printed.
sign it?
You need to vote.
Okay.
You need to vote to submit, as the applicant, vote to authorize the submission of the loan application. And let me just check something else. Oh, and you're also authorizing the town administrator to act on behalf of the town.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion that we approve the applicant,
Authorize the loan application
authorize the loan application,
and approve,
and
yeah.
approve the town administrator.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So I can go ahead and sign this one that requires my signature?
Yes.
Half the problem's always trying to.
Yeah, and your
figure out
name is
what
printed
motion
right
to put in.
underneath.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and then it looks like this last part is all three, requires all three of our, oh no, this is just me also.
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
Okay. Did we actually take a vote? Did I actually do that
Just-
part?
You
Okay,
just did.
okay.
Mhm.
I forgot if I did. Okay, excellent. Well, that looks like it was not fun to
That was a
prepare.
lot of work for the engineer, and, well, a lot of it's information they already have available too, so I appreciate their help on that.
Okay, so moving right along, the FY 2020, FY 25 accounting services contract with Markham.
Yes, Markham Accounting, as you know, we outsource our accounting services to Markham, and this agreement is for services effective July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
Okay. I am fine with that. I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agreement with Markham Accountants
For fiscal year 25.
for fiscal year 25.
I'll second that, but right now, we're sort of happy with the relationship with the accountant or not.
There have been some challenges, and as the auditor had mentioned, we're working through them. I had just a couple of concerns about this agreement, and I talked with the individual, Tanya Campbell, who oversees or manages the accounting, municipal accounting piece. So we worked through those. But I think, yeah, work is in progress, continues, but there has been some challenges for the past year and a half.
So do you think those challenges will, I mean, we're going to go forward with this contract, but are they willing to figure out these challenges?
Yes,
And
they are willing to continue to work with the town and find a way to strengthen the relationship and in terms of the services that they provide.
all right.
And it's, there aren't many options, frankly, for municipal accounting at this point. Okay, so a motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This is also just for my signature.
Yes.
I'm just going to sign it. If you could fill out the
Mhm.
other parts, that would be great. Okay, and then next is the application to the Division of Local Services.
Yes.
This is the, regarding the borrowing for the debt,
Yes.
the debt exclusion for the water and sewer.
Yeah. So I have, what you have in your packet is a blank one, but I have completed most of it. I'm just waiting on some information from the engineer, but on page 6 of what you have in the handout there, under section E, I have pulled together much of that information that Division of Local Services will be looking for, and verified the debt exclusion information and borrowing with the town clerk and the assistant treasurer.
Okay,
So the board is required to vote to submit this application to the Division of Local Services. And so just to give some background, this is for that supplemental 1.4 million that was authorized at town meeting for the wastewater treatment project. And we, as I said, it was voted at town meeting, and typically you have an election to vote the debt exclusion question. But because the original vote was voted at a previous annual town meeting and an election, as long as this meets the terms and eligibility requirements of the project. So it's still within the scope of this project. It's just additional money to fund critical components of
Right.
that project.
gotcha. Okay,
So this doesn't guarantee that they're going to I guess to waive that, ultimately, they could decide to require us to have an election to vote.
Okay,
ballot
well, let's
question.
deal with that if they,
But
okay,
This is the application to submit
okay,
to them for consideration.
So I'll
okay.
make a motion to forward to the Department of Revenue, the debt exclusion paperwork that we have in front of us.
A second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
A lot of paperwork tonight. Okay. Okay.
The next item is a request for the board to authorize to impose the conflict of interest employee exemption for Barry LeBay. He was recently appointed the Veteran Service Officer. He also is an election worker in the town clerk's office.
So the designation is special, what is the designation would be?
Actually, there is the special municipal employee exemption.
So that's
This
what I was
particular
looking for.
exemption, because he receives more than one salary, I mean, it's, minimal, very
Right.
minimal. But as a result of that, the Mass General Laws requires Mr. LeBay to submit a letter, which you have in your packet, and this will be filed with the town clerk's office.
Okay. We don't need to vote it or anything, do we?
You need to vote to impose that conflict of interest employee exemption. So the motion is to approve the exemption under Mass General Law, Chapter 268A,
Right, okay,
Section 20.
okay. I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Request to carry over vacation time from fire chief and building inspector. So you heard my spiel already. I think I did have a chance to talk to Bob about this a little bit last week. And again, I think we have two different situations here. We know that because of the staffing issues in the fire department, it's reasonable to think that there are times Bob isn't able to take time. So Bob, you're looking at carrying 40 over into next fiscal year. What is what would be your plan?
4 of the days are actually in the first week of July. I forgot to put that in the letter.
So there'd be one day.
So there'd be one extra day.
One
after.
extra day, which, okay, so that's not a big ask. I understand why it's happening. We still don't want it to happen. But it's a reasonable ask and there's a plan to take it off. Personally, I don't have a problem with that one. In terms of Kyle's, I mean, we're talking about he hasn't used any vacation all year, almost, right? That's about almost 4 weeks. I mean, I don't see that there was any difference in the workload this year. Like, in other words, we know that there was a different situation with Garrett. There's a unique situation in the fire department right now. I'm not sure what's unique about this. That's a huge amount of time to carry over. So now you're talking about a massive amount of time off, it looks like, for a travel plan. This is what I kind of want to avoid and what I have a problem with. And to ask to carry this much time over when there isn't even that much time left in the year to take it.
Yeah.
I mean, why wasn't this brought to our attention a lot sooner? That amount of time is also a problem for me. That's me weighing in on those two particular requests. But I'm open to conversation and
Take
suggestions.
one thing at a time. Let's
Okay.
start with the fire chief. Okay, how many positions are still unfilled?
2 full-time.
2 full-time positions are still unfilled. So that money's been sitting there, is this right?
Correct.
I can understand it's not a big ask from the fire chief, and he has been covering, and we still haven't gotten those 2 positions filled yet. So, I mean, I'm with the fire chief position myself. I'm okay with it. I don't know how my colleague Greg feels about it.
I guess I didn't understand what you were talking about. So it's only one day that you need carried over instead of a week?
It'll be 1 week, but 4 out of the 5 days that I'm asking to carry will be used within the first week of July. First, second, third, and fifth.
And then you'd have one day.
So I'd have 1 day that would go beyond the first week of July.
Yeah, I don't think the situation or circumstances changed last year to this year, so I don't understand why this is needed to be carried over. So I'm sticking with what we said last year. I don't want to carry over any unless it's really extenuating.
I mean, I think we know we have ongoing staffing issues and that the chief sometimes has no choice and has to be there and can't take time off. So I guess I would give this, I do, especially because it's minimal and you have a plan, and I would certainly want that one day taken by December 31st, which I think is completely doable. With the understanding, like, we're not entertaining these anymore, right? But I'm in favor of this one. I see your point, and we were very clear last year. But the fire department continues to be in a unique situation. I know that it didn't change from last year, but it continues to be unique from last year.
Even hiring the staff won't change my time off because the positions aren't to backfill me.
Right,
Because I am the Monday through Friday
Right.
paramedic.
right. But it is
That's my point as well.
yeah, I get what you're saying. I will make a motion that we allow 40 hours carryover with the understanding 4 days will be taken in the first week of July, 1 day will be taken by December 31st. And with a strong encouragement to not request anything next year, to take your time, right? That's my motion.
I will second that motion, just because of the situation, and hopefully you can find resolution to the staffing issue somehow.
So did you second it?
Yes.
A motion made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
I'll say
Any
aye.
opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay, that's fine.
So then on Mr. Scott's request, I do think this is different. I mean, there wasn't, I don't know what
He did submit something, right? As far as the reasoning.
he says due to workload and new pending projects, he wants to use the time later this year when he travels to the Philippines. I don't see what the change was in that department to warrant not being able to take almost 4 entire weeks off. So now you have a situation where it's going to roll over. How long is that? I feel like this was maybe keeping it for this extended vacation and rolling it over.
Should we request some more information from him? With
I
that,
mean,
I don't know, I'm just asking.
not to mention to bring such a huge rollover request when there's only, 2 weeks left in the year. You can't even, I don't know. I mean, I hate to see anybody lose time. That's not what I want to do to a good employee.
No.
But I just don't understand what the difference was. I mean, we can point at Garrett's, we know what was different. We can point at Bob's and justify that there's been a staffing issue. I'm not sure what it is here. And it's 156 hours. That's a huge chunk of vacation time. So I don't want to not be fair, and he shouldn't lose time, but
That's why I'm wondering, we should get some more information from him, because has he ever requested a carryover?
yeah.
He has.
Yeah,
okay.
and just like everyone else was
Okay.
told last year, we're not going to be entertaining these. And yet this is massive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not talking about 4 days.
Yeah.
We're,
So I just have to research. This may include time that he rolled over if it was authorized.
from last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it needs last year.
Yeah, it could
also.
be. I don't know.
That's
Like,
fine.
but I can do that research.
I think that this ask is different.
Mhm.
There, I don't see the justification within the department, and I think that the number of hours requested is really big.
It is.
So if there truly was no ability to take that time, we should have known a long time before, because we could have said, no, you're going to have to take at least this much of it. Now there isn't even enough
Isn't
time
Yeah.
for him to
Mhm.
use some of this time. So I have a problem with this one. It pains me to say that because I don't ever want to see an employee lose time off. That's why we give it, so that
Mhm.
they can take it. But maybe we do need more information, but the problem is we're not meeting again until next fiscal year.
Mhm.
So what happens if we deny this request? Does he lose 156 hours?
Yeah.
I mean, he can still use some time between now and June 30th, but he certainly won't.
How many
be able
hours
to
a week?
use-
Is he 30
Is he
hours?
30 or, I
So
think
that's
he's
5
30.
weeks.
I think he's
That's
30.
5 weeks of vacation to carry over. I think that's a completely unreasonable request.
Yeah, and if there wasn't time enough in last year to use it, there certainly won't be enough time in following year to use that plus his vacation.
Right.
Right, so
Because
now
if
we're
it doesn't
talking about, so
continues
are
to
we, and
accrue.
and
It's
if
gonna go
it's
on
for
forever.
one, I guess I just worry that it was done so that there could be this extended trip. It doesn't say how long he's going to be gone. He says, I anticipate using this time
Mm.
later this year. So is that extended of a vacation? That's not,
Mm.
a request like that should have been made well in advance, like, I want to take this extended trip. Will we be able to do this?
Yeah,
You know,
is
it-
that trip a
like
month?
that,
Is it
yeah.
2 months? Is
I
it-
mean, that's 5 weeks of
Mhm.
time, plus the time he would also be given as of July 1.
Right. He'll continue to accrue.
So I don't know. It's a lot to carry over when we were very clear last year that this was not going to be a practice we entertain unless there were really extenuating circumstances.
So he'll actually, if he doesn't want to lose that, he would have to take off time from now until July 30th, right?
Which would still only be really 2
Right.
weeks.
Right.
You're
It's
still talking about
he-
there's 5 weeks. It'd still
he
be
still
3
would
weeks he'd be
yeah,
losing.
He'll still lose time.
And we have to make the decision before June 30th.
You should, but I mean.
We-
yeah,
We're not
it's-
meeting again.
Right.
Well, if we don't make a decision, it just goes back to
I mean, and
policy.
this request just came in yesterday.
Yeah, because the treasurer's office has to set up the system to carry over vacation time. And they'll be setting up their records for the new fiscal year, if they haven't already started to do that. I'm sure they're probably starting it, but then they need to move data forward.
Right.
Well, we would only do something if we were going to grant it. If we do nothing, then he just loses it, because that's the policy.
Right.
Right. Mhm. Yeah, so his choice, is either to try and use some
He
of
would
it.
still have vacation time to take for his trip because he would have next year's time.
Right.
So it
Will.
wouldn't be leaving him without the ability to
He can
take the
carry
trip.
forward- So he can carry forward 2 weeks. So
Is that in
This must
addition?
be in excess of the 2 weeks, because by HR policy, you
So
can
he has
carry over
7
80
weeks?
So he must. Yeah, you can carry over 80 hours, 2 weeks.
The
So
letter's not really
This must be in
clear.
excess of that. That's a lot of time.
Yeah, that's,
I mean, we've gone.
you're
through
right,
this-
that's more than
Because
one
when you
fiscal year
request-
worth of
Yeah,
time.
because your request would be for hours in excess of the 80 hours that's allowed to carry over.
Wow, so
Yeah, I don't know how, yeah.
So
Oh,
you
he's
can
not-
carry 80 hours.
yours is,
Yeah.
you're carrying 2 over and yours is the extra 5, 4, yeah.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree
Really
with you.
hate to see Kyle lose time,
And
but this
I
is
know.
really
But I'm just
excessive.
surprised that
I'm-
he's built up that much
How could he
time.
have?
Well, if he did
If he
carry
carried it over and
time
used
from the
nothing.
previous year, yeah.
You want to
Tough
talk to
one.
him as the chair?
Yeah, but we have to vote, we have to make a vote
Mhm.
tonight.
If we say no tonight, then
He can carry over 2 weeks, like all,
Carry over
like
2
everybody.
weeks. Mhm.
How many weeks does he get a year? Do you know?
Well, he would accrue it based on the 30 hours he works a
Right.
week. I don't know what that accrual is.
so we have unknowns. We
There's-
don't know if we think that this is an addition to 2 weeks they can carry over.
It would have to be.
Yeah.
It would have to be.
And then it doesn't indicate, it doesn't really give a compelling reason why he couldn't take it, but also doesn't give, like,
Mhm.
is he planning on taking a 7-week vacation? Because he
Yeah,
said he's going to
doesn't-
use the time
Yeah.
when he goes.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be.
I know that travel to the Philippines it takes quite a bit
Right,
of time
and
to
I'm
get
sure
there.
he probably wants an extended stay, and I don't blame him, but
Mhm.
June 10th is not the time to ask something like this.
Mm.
And that's a lot of hours. I don't want to just keep saying the same thing over and over. I'm really wrestling with, having him lose time. I don't like that idea, but we don't have a lot of choices here.
I agree. It's not personal. It's just we have policies and rules and
And we were
everybody's gotta
clear last
follow 'em.
year, and this isn't, there's nothing,
That is true.
you know,
That's true.
so, I mean, I guess I'm obviously fine with the regular 2 weeks.
Mhm.
Oh, I don't know. It's a tough one.
I just don't like being put in this position where we have to vote right away. I think
I
it's
know.
not fair to us, and it's not fair to the department head, I guess.
Right.
Well,
Because we can't say
and
no, so make sure you use it by the end of the year. He
yeah,
can't possibly
and
use
if the
it.
request had come sooner and you still had time to consider before, your next meeting.
We
which
would
is
have at
big
least
then.
said, take
Yeah.
the time before this fiscal year. Now he's asked so late that
Mm.
we don't have that option to encourage him to take the time, so he doesn't lose it.
You can take some time off now.
He could take some time off between
Yeah.
now and the end of the
You
year
could.
and then carry 2 weeks over.
Mhm.
He could take basically a couple weeks.
He'll have to.
He'll have to.
He has an assistant building inspector, so he should make arrangements provided the assistant building inspector is available to cover for him.
Correct. And now you have everything online,
Right.
and you have a new clerk, right? That's actually understands how the online's
Mhm,
working now,
mhm.
right?
Yes, she does.
And he said she's doing great.
Mm-hmm.
So that should be covered if he's going to take his time off from now until
Mhm.
end of July, right?
Yeah. There certainly are options
But
For him,
regardless,
I'm
he's
saying
going to
for him.
lose some of it.
for him, right? Yeah, any way you look at it, he would lose some time.
But I do agree with you. He should have brought this up prior.
Yeah, that's a lot of hours to ask with 2 weeks left in the year.
And not put us in the corner to make a decision.
Mhm.
When we were also very clear last year.
And in the year before, and
And
the
the
year
year-
before.
Yeah, yeah, you've extended that, extension.
So then basically it would be just denying this request.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
he'd have to make his own decisions about what he takes for the rest of the year and being able to carry it over.
Yeah, and I will explain to him, if it is denied, then I will explain to him, yeah, it's late, 2 weeks left in the fiscal year.
And it's just an
And-
excessive number of hours.
Hours, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, I hate to do it, but
It's sort of not her fault to be put in this position at the
Right.
same token. I mean, I have a lot of respect for Kyle. He's
Yeah,
been doing
totally.
a great job,
Mhm.
but I hate it when somebody tries to throw something on our desk and say, well, you got to make a decision right now. I don't think that's fair at all.
What's happening out there?
Just the lake.
Is that normal?
It does happen from time to time.
Okay.
Yeah, it can be fine for a couple of days and then it just starts doing
We just
that.
have a blinking light that's
funky.
very bright and
Yep.
blinking out there.
Corey Barstow.
Yeah, I was going to say, if it would be anybody, it would be Corey. He'd probably be blinking the ones in here, though. So, I mean, I guess I'll make a motion that we deny this request based on the fact that there's really no compelling reason why the time couldn't be used, and it's an excessive number of hours.
I'll second that.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll make it unanimous.
God, I hate doing that. I really
And I
do.
hate doing
know
it
you
too,
I hate doing it.
but sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Okay. Approval of employment renewal agreements with department heads.
So the board has negotiated all these contracts and agreed to the terms with those department heads. And so the board just needs to vote these contracts they're all 3-year terms with the exception of the town administrator and then sign.
And this is all, I know, this is all, so they were all put forward, built into the budget that was approved. And so now it's
That is
time to
correct.
actually approve the contract.
Well, my
Okay,
understanding,
so
there's been an issue on one of them. Is that correct? Do we have an issue on one of the contracts or not?
The fire chiefs.
Yes.
So I updated that contract yesterday, so the salary amount in the original contract that you would receive in your packet was incorrect. And so that has been corrected and,
in this one,
and yes, so does it say 93,000? Should. I know I printed it out. I'm trying to think, did I give it to you for the signature? Okay. Oh, yes, that's right. It is. Is it highlighted?
on the original one that I'm going to
In there,
sign?
Yes.
I don't see anything highlighted. Oh, yes,
I was gonna
yes,
say,
it
maybe I
is.
have it on my desk then.
Yes, it
Okay.
is. So we're
Yes.
going to sign this
So
marked
that
up
would be
copy.
the
Okay.
corrected.
Well, let's take them
contract.
one at a time. So
Okay.
this is the one for Chief DeKoschak.
Mhm. And
Yeah,
He has
make a-
already signed his.
We already approved this, or do we have to approve this again?
You're voting to approve the contract. You didn't vote, you agreed to
Right,
the
right.
terms.
Right, and then it was all put
negotiations.
through town meeting
I'll
in the
make a
budget.
motion to
Right.
approve Chief DeKoschak's contract as written.
I'll second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No.
Sorry, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Next, it looks like we have Kyle's.
I make a motion that we accept Kyle Scott's employment contract for the town building inspector.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, we
I'll make a-
have, Marlene's.
I'll make a motion that we accept Marlene Machonsky's contract as submitted.
I'll second that.
A motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oh, what am I doing? I'm not handing these around. Hang on one second. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Sorry. Oh, that one's just for me. Okay. Okay, next, Chief Flaherty's.
I understand there's an issue with it, so I'm not sure if he wants it approved or not.
Well, he did express, the chief and I spoke yesterday, he did express concern about the education incentive clause that was removed. And as a result of that, there is the lump sum payment
Greg.
that would be paid that he would be compensated for achieving his bachelor's degree.
But we would have to go into negotiations again in order to make any changes
I-
to the contract.
I did think that was just an agreed upon issue, no?
Well, that was my understanding when you met.
It's all set.
You're okay with it? Okay.
Okay, so you're good the way it's presented tonight. Okay, so I'll take a motion on that. As
And I'll make a
presented.
motion to accept the fire chief's contract since he's all set with it, as he said, and as presented to us tonight.
I'll second that.
A motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's always a long process to get all of these done every year, so that feels good.
And
Not every year, but every few
Every 3.
years. Okay,
Okay.
moving right along. Update on the Day Pond restoration. Oh, that's old business. Is there anything new?
no,
Okay. And then, so next would be, we're visited by our friend, Mr. Kier. Dave, it's your big moment.
I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready.
big moment.
Dave is joining us tonight. The Capital Planning Committee had a very unusual summer meeting last week because we realized we needed to make some decisions about the final ARPA funding, which is roughly $240,000. So we went through the capital plan and sort of looked at priorities, obviously projects that fit within that financial scope. And so Dave wanted to present the decision of the Capital Planning Committee.
Yeah, the group discussion was about trying to knock off some of the little things that have been kind of hanging around for a while that we haven't had an opportunity to take care of. The ones that were identified in a motion and accepted by the committee, obviously that's just a recommendation to you guys. You guys can decide to do what you want with it, but the projects that we identified that for priority would be this fire department software upgrade for $12,000. The flooring in the Council on Aging, although we're all a little disappointed that flooring hasn't really lasted very long. So we're hoping that this is not something that something's gonna be done to make sure that when we spend this money, that's not gonna reoccur. Okay, so we gotta have some kind of a guarantee or warranty or something that or be done differently that
We did
this.
receive a proposal and it would be a permanent fix.
Okay, that's good. So it was on the plan at $75,000, but we weren't sure whether was going to be enough. So we said $75,000 to $100,000, whatever that number is. I don't know if that's come in or not.
I have that on my
okay.
desk. I didn't bring it with me.
All right. The HVAC upgrades at Smith Academy for $73,000. The replacement of their freezer unit on the roof of HES to make sure that the inside freezer is working properly for $21,000. And the front porch for fire department replacement for $25,000, which adds up to between $206,000 and $231,000. And then on the motion was that the board would use the balance once we kind of know as the year gets later on and once all the bills come in, what it looks like as a balance that, at the last minute, maybe if we need some technology upgrades at the town hall, or we could say to Bob, order a little bit of more PPE equipment or something like that to make sure we spend that money. I was thinking about this a little bit after our meeting, as being a member of the comprehensive committee. And I know that we're going to be coming to see you guys at some point, in either August or September, to sort of present the comprehensive committee's work. And the whole and the action plan and all that kind of stuff. It's not done yet. It's not finalized. We don't have that figured. we know that that's something that we're going to do. It has to go to the planning board. Also, the planning board has to accept it. So we were thinking hopefully we can have maybe a joint planning board, select board meeting at some point in the late summer, early fall to make that happen. But I know that on the plan, and one of the big things in our plan, the comprehensive plan, is that the town really needs to pay attention to where all of its essential services are. And all of your essential services are in the floodplain.
Right.
The town hall, the fire department, the police department, the ambulance, the elementary school, the COA, I mean, the whole bit, okay? And I know that on the capital plan is the possibility of a new DPW building. And I know that they've identified a spot down on Elm Court. I know that they've started a project down there, and they've got a building that got going, and on the capital plan is an $80-something thousand request to finish that project. Now, yes, we did have someone at our meeting the other night who came specifically to object to that piece of using those funds for that purpose, because they stated that the town was sold that was going to be a storage building and not anything else. How silly it was to put the mechanic down there and have to shuttle equipment, this, that, and the other thing. Personally, I've always been of the belief that you hire department heads for a reason. You hire department heads to make decisions and to bring decisions forward to you that they think is in the best interest of the town and their department. And maybe that's another piece of this that ought to be considered and put on that list, because maybe it is a step towards, somehow, some way over the next 5 to 10 years of moving some of these essential services out of the floodplain and get them up to above the floodplain line and make it a little more reasonable. Maybe the DPW does move to Elm Court. Maybe this fire department and the police department does move to where the DPW is. I don't know. There's a lot of moving parts, but I would also entertain that you should suggest that you entertain that piece of the
That's separate from the ARPA funding you're talking about.
No,
waiting.
maybe juggling some of the stuff that we put in the ARPA funds to cover that. I don't know, but I'm just.
To cover what though? I'm not sure what you're.
What I'm suggesting is maybe that could also be, that $88,000 could be, instead of deciding we're going to do the HVAC upgrades at Smith Academy, maybe the $88,000 gets put in there, or instead of fixing the front porch, we, just consider that, because it's finishing a project that's halfway done. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
DPW?
The DPW building, yeah.
But there was also the issue of being able to be done by December 3rd.
I agree. I understand it. And we don't know the answer to that, but I was listening to our accountant or our auditor, and he said something about making sure it sounded like that the bills don't have to be paid. By that he said something about
correct. That's correct. You need to have commitments, whether it's a contract or
yeah.
It says a purchase order.
Purchase order. He said, I remember him saying purchase order or something like that.
Place, then you're all set.
I'm just going off of what I heard today during that. So I don't know what the rules are as far as do we have to have every check cut by December 31st or what, whatever. So
no, you need to.
Your suggestion would totally change what the capital planning committee voted on.
Yes, they did, but it's only a recommendation.
Yeah.
Capital planning committee. And I'm throwing it out there as
I guess I
another
feel like
piece of the puzzle.
part of why I didn't think we would want to entertain the DPW project for this, it had nothing to do with the gentleman who came to visit. It was more the timing of being able to actually make that happen.
Which we didn't know.
And the other projects we think are shovel ready, if you will.
Yeah.
Much ready to execute by December 31st.
But we also don't know that that's not shovel ready.
What's that?
Finishing that building.
Right.
And if we can do it, and if it doesn't, if the checks don't have to be written, maybe it's just a commitment that they're going to do it. That's a different story. But again, this is just, I'm throwing that out there as just a piece of puzzle. You guys are going to make the decision as to what goes on.
Well, now you got my curiosity. Phil, what is left on that building that has to be done?
Spray foam insulation and the electric.
And how much money? That's 90 grand, you're saying, or?
This is about 90 grand.
And you have bids on that already? Is that shovel ready, or?
We're ready. We're ready to go.
Okay, that's-
And I'm not saying that that's any more important than any of the other
Right.
things that we put on here, okay? In fact, there's others, and we could have identified other things on the capital plan that are important as well. These numbers happen to add up to what looked like a reasonable number with a little bit left over, okay? But I was just thinking, because of some of the recommendations that are gonna come out of the comprehensive committee, that maybe that's something to think about.
And not
Because
doing
they have
it, not doing
effective-
that project through ARPA funds doesn't mean it doesn't get done. It just
Correct.
means that we got to find a funding source
Mm.
next year or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, capital planning talked about this. Certainly, I mean, what you'd have to pull out of what we recommended would be the $75,000 HVAC upgrades at Smith Academy, right?
Probably, yes.
And I mean, I feel like that's a project that can be done by December 31st, and certainly on its merits
Yeah.
alone is a good choice to use these
All
ARPA
of
funds
them are
for.
on
So I don't, I
have
mean,
merit.
I don't really want to change what the capital planning committee recommended with the understanding that that doesn't mean the DPW building never gets done. It just doesn't get done with this ARPA
Correct.
funding
Correct.
in the next 6 months.
Correct.
That's all.
I mean,
So-
I appreciate capital planning, getting together and prioritizing. So I'm going to suggest that we get a copy of the prioritizations that you've established, and we make a solid vote at our next
Have
meeting.
them right
on-
here.
They're right there.
Yeah,
And
well,
on
I still need, I don't want to make a decision tonight. I want to
Yeah.
just, I like to think about things for a day or
Okay.
two, that's all.
When's your, yeah, but.
The next
again,
meeting isn't for a month.
We
and
met specifically so that we could be ready for this meeting tonight,
Yeah, because
because you're on a short
some of
timeline.
these projects are going to have to go out to bid and then
Wasn't
be
that list in our
executed.
packet, so we could at least look at it for a couple
That
of days.
list he has?
Can you
Yeah,
give
I
that
do.
to Ed just so he can see it in print?
I don't
It's
even know
all
what-
things that were on the capital plan, Ed, so none of these are new
No, but
projects.
I
So
just,
is that your letter that the capital planning had submitted initially for?
No, this is
Oh,
a
okay,
copy
it's
of the
something-
minutes of the meeting. the other day.
Oh, okay, okay.
Right here. That we have, that obviously are not
Okay.
approved, they're just,
Yeah.
I typed
Yeah,
them
I
up
thought
after the
maybe it was
meeting.
the capital planning committee's letter of recommendation that you had submitted a few months ago.
So
No.
we didn't, so just to sort of,
Because
reiterate.
we don't, I'm sorry, a couple of months ago, we didn't have any money that we were working with, so we kind of just
Yeah.
submitted the plan and said, here, you know.
I don't even want to ask this question, but there's ongoing delays on 5 and 10. Are we 100% sure we're getting no more bills from them?
In excess of the additional 300,000 that was
Yeah.
just, I'm not aware, I have not received
Because
notification.
I don't want to pay another penny.
Yeah.
And this would be our only mechanism, would be through ARPA. So if we commit these funds,
Yeah.
and we can't wait any longer to commit the
Yeah.
funds,
There-
because these projects are going to take some time, like getting, like the porch, right? There's going to have to be some, getting some contractors in, taking a look at it, getting it done.
Yeah.
And so just to reiterate your point, though, we purposely didn't allocate all of them because we did expect that there could be some price differences in the floor downstairs because we do
Mhm.
want it done right.
Mhm.
So we wanted to leave a little bit free for that.
Mhm.
And then there was a PPE request for the fire department, which was sort of higher than we had in the budget. So we thought that would be one suggestion of what might be used once we get a little closer to the end of the year. That can probably be ordered pretty quickly. And money could be spent on maybe whatever, one set, two set, whatever
Yeah.
we have left. Not a given that that's what it would be for, but we sort of talked about that. Also understanding that in the next few months, an expense could come up that we're not expecting, and we would have it left and leave that sort of last minute, and at the very last,
Yeah.
the 11th hour, when we know exactly what
Maybe
we have
somebody here at
left.
the town hall needs a computer upgrade and you could spend a couple
Yeah.
$1,000 on it.
I was supposed to get it last year and we didn't have
Right.
money in the budget. And
I mean,
same
but we did-
situation this
Want to
year.
see that?
On
Greg,
something
do you
like
wanna look
that,
at
you know, if it's something that could be ordered very quickly and paid for very quickly, that could take care of
See,
that.
I feel a little bit differently than that. I feel like it should be items either on the capital plan or that have come up unexpectedly.
Yeah.
Not just,
Yeah.
oh, we have some money, let's everybody start throwing wish lists together. So the PPE is on the plan.
Right.
It is a smaller ticket item. It's a variable, right? Bob could do various amounts of it to accommodate whatever we have left.
And PPE is pretty general also.
And PPE, yeah, and it's obviously always going to be a good purchase.
I just want to bring up on the 30K or so that's remaining, let's be sure that we have enough for the TV studio, the break room and the media room.
Oh, the 30,000 that you allocated to
We
the
just want to make sure
upstairs.
that, let's make sure we have enough, because there's another thing that may come up is if you're going to put heat pumps out here, they may need to have a shield to prevent from snow and ice. And you
Right.
might want to come up like a good
Yeah.
green fence just to make it
Yeah, we did
aesthetically
learn that,
pleasing for this
The
building.
cable project?
right, it is. And we have
Well,
a
outside
proposal.
isn't part, in a way it is, I guess
We-
it could be,
We have a proposal to install,
3 heat
pumps.
pumps.
but
Balcony.
they are not, in the proposal, it does not include protecting them from snow and ice.
Plus we have 2 for the COA that never got protected. 'cause
Right.
I
And
went
they
out there
ran
and
into
took
a
look.
problem this past winter. They had water coming in.
Right, because the snow wasn't taken
Mhm.
care of.
So they're sort of like, that's like addendums to previous capital projects or previously approved capital projects, like the cable thing.
The cable studio and
Cable's
the
this year,
meeting
though.
room.
The cable's this year, but it's already been approved.
Right.
In other words, it's not off the capital plan.
Right.
I just want to be clear. I want to really
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
get into, because then it's just a whole can of worms of,
Mhm.
Right.
So I did think it was kind of prudent to leave a little bit so that we had some give,
Mhm.
particularly where the floor was concerned.
Mhm.
That's an excellent point about, we'll know, how long will it be before we know if we need more money for, the studio is separate money, it's different.
Right.
But the
right.
break room and that sort of stuff, how long before we could know?
Well, that's part of it. That's part of the,
But how long until we'll know if we need extra money?
it shouldn't be very long at all.
Okay,
I know right now there's about $5,600 available, but that doesn't, we don't have a quote for the electrical work that needs to be done.
Okay.
The only smaller sort of things that are on the capital plate, if you're talking about $30,000, the irrigation for Smith Academy Park is 25 on here. And then the technology replacements for the schools, which we were believing there was going to be part of their operating budget, but are on the plan for each of them are $10,000 for each of the schools. But
so I guess, what we really need to do is nail down exact dollar amounts for the projects
Mhm.
that we are hoping to approve,
Mhm.
so that maybe we have another sense of what's left. And then if need be, I guess we bring the capital planning committee together again, because now, time is ticking by. So now you look at a project like the irrigation system, are we going to be able to do that? Maybe not. So we really and truly have to very much stay on top of
Mhm.
these projects, the timing of them, the actual dollar amount, and then what we're left with. Because, some of the items you just mentioned, the Chromebooks or whatever, what did you say?
I
The
think it's
computer,
the screens they want to.
the screens.
In front of the
Like some of those things, very much like the PPE, could be a last minute purchase. And so maybe we can do a little of both or whatever, but we have to really stay on top of it.
Mhm.
Okay.
And are all these things within the rules of ARPA?
Yes.
Yeah. That's another reason that sticking with the capital stuff, because it
Mhm.
falls right in line with it. Okay, so now that you had a chance to read this, do you have questions about any of these, like the HVAC upgrades or the HES freezer unit? It's not actually the freezer, it's actually the unit up on the roof that runs the freezer.
The HVAC upgrades are like all over the building, there's different valves and thermostats and all these different things as it was described to us by Dr. Driscoll when we met with him during the regular stuff. Because there's a whole, that whole building is full of heat pumps. If you don't know how that building works, and I guess there's certain things on some of those heat pumps that are failing and they want to replace them before they totally fail and end up in the middle of the January without heat in some classroom or something like that. So this is stuff that's been recommended for a while, and I guess and I think some thermostat upgrades that help keep things running. The way
Okay,
it
so
is.
that's 73 grand, right?
It's all, yeah,
So
it's
all-
it's not one thing. It's a bunch of little,
Okay,
that, I'm sure they'll hire one company to come in and do it all, but it's.
okay, let's take a motion on that item then.
The freezer
if you wanna.
replacement is 73,000?
No.
No,
Oh,
no,
okay.
that's
That's
21,000.
this freezer is
I'm gonna check on
21,000.
that with
You're saying
Global
they're all
Services.
combined.
On what?
That money that that we're receiving from Tree Works went into a fund, but I have to request approval from the Director of Bureau of Accounts.
To be able to use it for
Use
the
it for-
tiles on the school? No, it's for,
Tiles
that
for
one,
the freezer.
that money was supposed to be for the floor tiles.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, I thought it was to replace the,
No.
I thought you
I
were
thought Tree
thinking
Works
of
was for
using
the
it to replace
freezer.
the freezer. Yeah,
but then we realized dollar-wise it didn't,
oh,
so they were fine with the floor tiles at the,
oh,
in
okay.
classrooms.
Okay,
Because
didn't
it's going to
recall
be
that.
more than 21,000 that we're
Right.
getting. And so there's the floor tiles is how much?
Replacing the carpet tiles on the capital plan is $30,415.
Right, it's,
But when we talked to Dr. Driscoll, if we gave them the whole 40, they would just add a couple of extra classrooms.
right.
Oh.
They could
And
make
use
it
up-
more, actually
Okay.
use all the funds on that one
Right.
thing.
I see, okay,
Yeah, so that,
Okay, I didn't
this,
realize
the,
that.
the freezer unit replacement is on this
okay,
from the ARPA funds.
okay,
So it will still get done. It's just not
Yeah.
getting done with those tree work.
okay.
Okay, so,
So I want to make sure I understand, because we were
Yeah.
talking about 4 different
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just stick with the little things you're talking about for,
First thing on your list is $12,000 for administrative software for the fire chief. That brings, he has a couple of different programs that don't talk to each other, which means he has to do work twice. And this software upgrade would bring it all together, so it's all in one plate, all in one place, and everything's in one place. Is Bob still here?
Yes, sir.
Did I talk about that correctly?
That's a very good synopsis.
saving work hours.
Work hours, yes. Okay, and it's a one-time deal, no annual contracts, no annual upgrades or any of that stuff, correct?
It'll be built into the budget. The
Built-
upgrade is a one-time, and then it's just the subscription fee that you pay now.
Which you pay now.
Correct.
So, okay.
okay, let's take that first item then, 12 grand. Are we all in agreement on that?
Yes.
Okay, do we need to put that in a motion?
Do we want to do it individually?
should.
Yes, individually. I'll make a motion that we use ARPA funds for $12,000 worth of ARPA funds to upgrade the administrative software for the fire department.
Okay, I'll second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion?
Aye.
So next thing on the list is Council of Aging flooring, which is $75K to $100K.
And Marlene, you said you already have a bid on that?
I have a proposal, I
Will it
can
fit
get
in-
that
in
on my
there?
desk. I believe it's less than that.
Okay.
It's less than,
I believe less than 75,000.
Oh,
And I believe we should get a couple proposals instead of
We
just
do,
one.
we do need to get 2 other quotes.
okay. I would leave it this way then for now because we don't have the other quotes.
Okay.
And we want to make sure that was the capital plan, the stipulation was that the procedure, however this is done,
Mhm.
that we're not going to run into the same problem and that it will address the issues that created the problem in the
Okay.
current floor. So I think we should still vote it this way because we don't have an awarded or
I see, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so Council of Aging, is there a motion on that, I guess?
I can make a motion that we spend up to $100,000 of ARPA funds on the Council on Aging floor.
Okay, I'll second that.
motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next one on the list is what we were talking about, HVAC upgrades at Smith Academy, 73 grand, which you said are multiple things, right?
Yes, yeah. Dr. Driscoll explained it to us when we had our meeting with him back in probably February, that it's thermostats, it's valves, it's a number of different things which will make things work much better than they have been the last couple of years and clean things up, and hopefully we won't have as many.
Because I remember hearing,
They've had a number of expenses of fixing things the last couple of years.
because I know a few years ago with the COVID money, we had spent software upgrades on their system at Smith Academy and making sure the dampers opened 100% and filters. So this is an addition to what you're saying, right?
It's a pretty complicated system in that building, I believe, that because every classroom has its own heat pump, and
Yeah, it's a water source
yeah,
heat
then
pump.
the water goes through and they draw the heat out of the water or the cooling out of the water, and it's I don't know. I'm not sure it's the most efficient system, but it's the one that's up there.
So I'll make a motion to use the ARPA funds for the upgrades at Smith Academy that are 73 grand as presented by Mr. Kier and for these individual things.
The HVAC
Yeah.
upgrades, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll second that. A motion made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next on the list is HES freezer unit replacement for 21 grand, which needs to be done.
Yeah. It's limping along from what we understand.
Do you want to make the motion or do you want me to make it?
No, I'll make a motion. Make a motion that we spend ARPA funds in the sum of 21,000
Yep.
for HES freezer.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay, motion made and second. Any further discussion?
no.
All those in favor?
Aye. Now, can somebody explain the fire department front porch replacement? What's going on with that? Is it all rotted out or?
It's the door that comes out towards the basketball courts, that
Yeah,
doorway
facing
there.
School Street, yeah.
Yeah, that faces School Street, that
Oh,
whole
okay.
area.
That looks
needs-
horrible.
Yeah, it's terribly it used to connect that building to the Milkman School, right? If you remember,
Yes.
when they took the Milkman School, they just kind of left it as it is, and it really needs to be redone, cleaned up. That egress has to be there because it's the only other egress out of the building, I guess. From there's really only one door, and that's the second door or something. That's what I was told.
So it's an overhang,
It's
right?
the overhang. I think it's maybe replacing the whole door and all of the structure around it and all that kind of stuff. So I think there's some serious work that needs to be done there. And that's been on the plan.
It's been on the plan for a while.
long time. We've been trying to get this through. Yeah. It keeps being submitted by Phil as.
And we
from the
think
DPW.
that we can get the project done
Yeah.
by,
And it may
Winter.
even be that the DPW may even be able to do some of the work. I don't know.
Okay,
It's for 25,000.
yes.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I make a motion that we spend ARPA funds the amount of 25,000 for the fire department porch repair.
okay, I'll second that.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye. So these projects, what we voted on, total 206,000 up to 231,000 depending. And the remaining balance will be at the discretion of the select board, but we know that we have to target them before the end of December 31st of this year.
Yep.
Once we get prices, and these are all ready to go, right? I guess.
It's the plan. Yeah.
Marlene, could we have maybe an agenda item on all of the, with sort of an update on each project, just so that we know, so that if we do need to call another capital planning committee meeting to make further recommendations,
Yeah.
or just have a discussion among us
Yeah.
about, but we just don't want to
I
get
can
caught
have
not
one.
spending
Yeah,
any of
As a
those
matter of fact,
funds.
the past couple of weeks, I've been reconciling with the accountant on the ARPA.
And I-
funds, so
Okay.
yeah,
Can I
can do that.
suggest that you also make a motion that that the select board will take care of spending the remaining funds? Maybe you do that now and authorize that so that, you guys can then make the decision as to what you're gonna do with the.
But we
rest
don't
of
have
it.
to do
you
that.
Do you not
That's a
have to do
re-
that?
We have that.
You already have that, okay.
I do want to point out one more thing while we're talking about the ARPA funds. We originally used the ARPA funds to move the collection to Pechorik's and rent that.
We did use
So,
some money
and
for
we
that.
also used the money to move it. So
Yes.
another thing to remember is we have
It
to
will have to
move
be
the
moved
collection
back
back. So
when it goes
I
into
don't
the
know what the
balcony.
cost will be.
Yes.
So that might be another use of the ARPA funds
Yeah,
to
it
move.
reminded me
the
of that the
collection
other
back.
day. So
So
yeah, good
I just
point.
wanna
Oh,
bring
that's
that
not a
up.
bad point. Will we be ready to move it by December 31st?
We better
Oh, I
be.
would expect, matter of fact, I was told by the contractor yesterday, they'll be finishing the balcony floor
I
by
would-
Friday.
Yeah,
Once you get a figure for that,
Give a notice to Diamondback that will be vacant.
okay, so once you get a figure on what it's going to cost to move, I would bring that to us to just approve it out of those, because we know there's going to be that much money left for
Okay.
that move.
Mhm.
So I don't necessarily want to vote it tonight because we don't have a dollar figure, but yeah, that again is just it's a continuation of a project that's already existing, so.
'Cause I don't remember what it cost us to move it the last time, so.
Yeah, I can look back. and see
Okay,
what it
well,
costs.
good. David, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, thanks for all that
well,
work.
well planning there.
Another year of
We
fun
have a good-
capital
We have a good
planning.
group that pays attention and knows what's going on and
Yeah.
we work together well, so.
Well, and you know,
If like a half an hour the other night.
we are looking for another member on
We
capital
are
planning where
always.
we only have 4 members.
Large.
Yeah.
It really only meets January, February, March
Yeah.
typically. It's kind of interesting work. And what's nice is there are a lot of people on the committee who've been on for years. And that's very helpful because you see how the projects move through the capital plan and, you know, why some may have been kicked back and why they may come up, you know, as prioritized. So it's a really good group to work with. And I enjoy it, but we really do need a 5th person on there. But you really wouldn't have anything to do till January.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's, you know,
Unless for some reason we'd had to meet quickly before the end of the year.
it's
It's
possible.
possible, you never
but-
know.
Okay,
It wouldn't be a long drawn out affair, I don't.
no. Okay, very good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Nice.
So the last,
Thanks,
well,
Dana.
so now we have the town administrator search on here.
Yes. So my thought was to formalize the search committee, which we had discussed at the last meeting, and then just approve that draft advertisement. And I know that you had asked if you could have some time to review these documents, and there was also,
What is DOQ?
depending on qualifications, but I was thinking I'll spell that out.
Mhm.
Yeah, instead of abbreviating that, I'll spell that out.
I would say attendance is required at all select board and town meetings, just to make it clear.
Mm-hmm. Just thinking also, the town administrator from time to time does attend other board and committee meetings.
Yeah, as
I've been on the
necessary.
comprehensive plan. I'm not a committee member, but I
I
still
would put something in about
Yeah, I was just
other
thinking-
boards and committees as
Right.
necessary.
I've gotten to planning board
Just so
meetings.
people, potential applicants understand that that's a
Mhm.
lot. I know
Yeah.
you spend a lot of
Depending on-
evenings in Hatfield. I just was thinking, must be computer literate. I would maybe list, must be proficient
Mhm.
and list the particular programs.
Okay.
obviously,
Mhm.
Excel and Word and,
Yeah. Absolutely.
but I would really spell out the programs that you're using on a regular basis.
Mhm.
Even, I mean, isn't there state report, isn't there sort of state systems that you are logging into, like for
There-
things, DOR,
Yes.
so maybe even flesh out a little bit familiarity with those types of
Mhm,
programs because
Yeah, for reporting purposes to the state, there are programs that I have to log into.
on the advertisement, I'm fine with the changes I mentioned. I don't know if
Mhm.
anyone has anything else.
I think it looks good.
Okay. And then,
So we'll advertise this on Mass Municipal website.
mhm.
Okay. And actually, I'll share it with the Small Town Administrators Association.
Okay. And I would put it on the website and.
Yes, oh yes,
Yeah,
we will
all
do
that other
that.
stuff.
Yep.
And then are we going to go over a little bit the roles and responsibilities?
If you'd like to, we can do that.
I have a couple, I mean, I noticed a couple of typos, which is fine. That doesn't really matter at this point, but
It was just a draft.
so I really want to make sure we flesh out the importance of grant writing.
Mhm.
So where it just says develop and administer grants.
Mhm.
So we don't develop or administer grants, we're applying for
We
grants,
apply
right?
for them.
So I would maybe flesh it out to, apply for, oversee,
Oversee and managing.
report, and ensure compliance with grants. I mean, it really should be fleshed out a lot more because that's a huge job
Mhm.
and super important. And those are hard. Those things are hard.
A
And
lot of
so I
work that
really
goes
want to make
into
sure we
those.
have, thanks, Bob. That's all. I would just flesh out the grants part of it. I don't know if anybody else had any thoughts on that. We don't need to take a vote to have you
No.
do that, right? So now, do we have a committee ready?
So at the last meeting, we had discussed having a 5-member committee, the town moderator, a representative from the select board, a finance committee rep, and who am I missing? It's 3, an at-large, and who's the fifth? I had mentioned the treasurer, but since there's a finance committee rep, or there would be a finance committee rep, I rethought that and thought it isn't necessary really to have the treasurer, and that
Except that
maybe
the treasurer is really working with the person on a day-to-day basis in a,
that is true.
really working in tandem constantly on
Mhm.
the current budget and the future budgets and all of that. So it seems like actually that person's input is really important
It
in
would be.
addition to the finance committee. So
So
'cause
other thoughts I had was the town clerk possibly, and then the school superintendent, because there's quite a bit of interaction with the school. particularly the school
Well, it
superintendent.
makes sense to have people that do the most
Mhm.
interaction with town administrator
Yeah.
on that committee, so.
Mm.
So then if we kept the treasurer and we added the school superintendent,
Mhm.
how many would we be up to? Would that be an odd number, an even number? That
We're
would be
talking about
6, right?
Moderator, select board rep, finance committee at large, treasurer, and school superintendent. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So
It's an odd
maybe add
number.
another at-large.
Yeah.
And have a 7-member.
That would. Mm. I think that'd be good. Excellent.
Perfect.
So we'll maybe make actual appointments
Make
at
it
the
a
July
7.
meeting?
It'll be a 7
Okay.
appointed member.
Did we decide who from this board is going to be on? I would prefer maybe not to be.
Okay.
Just, just schedule wise and whatever, if
Okay.
one of my colleagues would like to do that.
I don't mind. I mean, I give Greg the first opportunity, and if he doesn't want to, then I'll be happy to serve.
I'd rather you did it.
Yeah.
If you're given a choice. I just think you've been around longer than I have.
And you also have really relevant experience in your professional life,
Yes.
I probably have more time.
and more time. There's
Maybe-
that too.
Maybe that.
Okay, I'll be on it.
But you do have really good, your prior professional
Yeah.
experience will be very handy
Yeah.
here.
You're definitely
Yeah.
stronger than I am.
Okay. And the
we-
finance committee, I understand it probably will be Sean Berry.
Oh, good.
We have to go into executive
need to
session now?
Actually, you don't really, and I didn't get a chance to update you earlier today, Ed. We did meet briefly. I don't know if Phil's left. We met briefly this morning, and so right now, the matter has been sort of tabled. We're in a holding pattern, I'll say.
Okay.
So really, there is no reason for the board. The board does not need to meet to make any decisions.
Okay.
Right now.
Do we have anything else?
This was regarding the union proposal, right?
Do we have anything else we have to discuss tonight?
No.
With that being said, I make a motion.
Oh, July, our handy cable manager over there, he indicated, or not indicated, made me aware that our next meeting was scheduled for July 9th, and he will be away. So you could either just have an untelevised meeting or schedule it maybe for the following Tuesday, which would be, would they say the 16th?
I think it should be televised. We're only having one meeting a month. There's a lot
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah.
I mean, there's important things that people should get a chance to
What
see,
date
so
date would be the next one?
July 16th. Oh, I am in,
Count.
I'm in Texas.
You're in Texas.
I'm in Texas on the 16th.
Texas
I'm headed to
girl.
Who wants to
Ohio.
be in Texas in middle of July? Not me, but I have
Yeah, that'll
to be.
be a scorcher, huh?
Run between air conditioners.
So we can't do it, we really can't do it July 2nd. Well, I guess we could.
Yeah, that would be, well, yeah, you could.
So many people are on vacation that whole week. Not me, I'm working,
A lot
but
of people do take time off that week,
Um,
but I will be here. I think,
what do we
Karen,
know
you'll be
is on
gone,
that
right?
agenda?
You'll be gone. Oh, okay.
what do we know anything that's going to be on that agenda? I know we talked about a few things
So
tonight,
what you
but
will have coming before you that I know of right now is the solar project at the elementary school, the lease and the power purchase agreement. So the school committee was acting on that last night.
we could do on the 2nd.
You could, yeah, that's.
I mean, putting it off to the
What I'm planning for
23rd
the
is a
next
really
meeting.
long
Do you
time.
know of any other things coming up? No, okay. Yeah, right now, that's all I'm aware of
I
is
mean,
that
that's 3
solar
weeks
project.
away, so are you okay with July 2nd?
July 2nd I can do.
I can do that. Does
I mean,
that work for you, John? Okay, so we're going to change that to July 2nd.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Then let me ask, when are we in August? Are we August 13th?
So We
So that's
are,
quite
because we
a
changed,
stretch
yeah.
there, but hopefully we
Yeah.
won't need to. call
because we
another
were going to
meeting.
meet another, a later date in August, and then I had a conflict, so we changed it to August 13th.
That's not on a Friday, right? So we're all covered.
As a Tuesday. But you replied and said the 13th was good for you.
Meetings
That was
on
a joke
Fridays.
in there. Right? You missed it,
See, I
okay.
take you so seriously.
He's usually very serious, but once in a while.
My dry humor.
Yeah.
Okay, so, all right, so next meeting is July 2nd.
Yes.
Okay, with that being said, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.